under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is to approve the consent agenda. And I'd like to take out the approve Dr. Angela Rolfelson, Director of Special Services, to be discussed. And I will-
So we make that letter N, is that
Okay.
all right?
Yes.
Someplace down there. If there's no any other questions about the consent agenda, do I have a motion? We don't need a motion. Oh, okay. Public comments and correspondence, recognition. Okay. I have a board response to the Knobnoster MSTA. They came to see us. I want to thank you for your input in our board policies. The board is in the process of reviewing all of the policies, and we encourage your input in the next collective bargaining process. Thank you again. Under new business, we're going to approve the bills.
We have report.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Excuse me.
Thank you, Mrs. Matthews, no problem. I just wanted to highlight, good evening. I wanted to highlight our Board of Education on our monthly financial update, which is included in your folder. Year-to-date revenue generated is 11.7% of the anticipated budgeted amount. Year-to-date expenses have been realized at 4.5% of the budget. So as we can see, budget trends are healthy for the fiscal year 2015-16. I wanted to highlight our board as well on our average daily attendance numbers. Our student enrollment numbers remain at 1550, so that's a wonderful thing. And the monthly ADA, which is average daily attendance percentage district-wide, was at 94.55%. So we're really doing well in that area. I want to thank our teachers and principals and parents for encouraging our students to come to school. And I'd like to note during the first month that the Knobnoster High School led the way with the highest percentage, which is a wonderful thing. All of them did very well. So I just wanted to note that. Mission 2020 plan update. Plans are underway to work towards the implementation of soccer and golf extracurricular programming for the 2016-17 school year. Mr. Easterwood, Mr. Bezanga, and I have been meeting to discuss details of preparation necessary to begin implementation during Mission 2020 Plan Year 2. Mr. Easterwood will bring a couple of soccer programming options to present to our Board of Education at the October 14th, 2015 board meeting for consideration. As far as human resources staffing update, we continue to closely monitor the enrollment numbers as students transition in and out of our district. As we do have a growing special education student enrollment in two particular buildings at Knobnoster Elementary and in our early childhood special education programming at Whiteman Elementary. The district has posted 2 potential openings for teachers, and we do have a para position open as well. Thus, we will continue to screen for quality applicants as positions may require. Next, I would like to highlight our Board of Education on advocacy efforts. Later in September, I will attend the NAFIS conference to learn more about federal impact aid funding, the issues of sequestration and continuing resolutions, and visit our legislators on Capitol Hill to advocate for the support of federal impact aid monies. A national campaign has started this week as more than 2,500 national, state, and local organizations are calling on Congress to avoid the impending financial crisis and end sequestration. So they're calling this campaign to raise the caps, raise the spending caps, and end sequestration through a bipartisan budget deal before October 1. And NAFIS, along with other educational groups, Impact 8 state associations, and our school district have signed letters and are advocating for support of this. Of course, we all know the Budget Control Act of 2011 established caps on discretionary spending for a decade, and that's impacted all of us. During fiscal years 2016 through 2022, the plan was for sequestration to return. And again, they were trying, savings are realized through caps on discretionary programs, not across the board cuts. So we are advocating to continue to fund Impact 8. It's faring well so far in the House and Senate proposals, but funding levels will become increasingly difficult based on the strict caps for discretionary programs. So we are working to provide paramount support for to the House in fiscal year 2016 funding bill that has proposed a $10 million increase in basic support. Again, we're hoping that this will help erase the erosion of the funding due to stagnation of appropriations. So we keep working on that, and we work on advocating to eliminate the potential for future sequesters through the Budget Control Act caps. So really important meeting in a couple weeks, advocacy trip, and looking forward to that as well, because they asked us to share a story and how Impact 8 funding, Title 7 monies impact us here locally. So I have a lot of stories to share about our North Ulster School District. What I think is very neat is we have this opportunity to share in the fall. We also have this opportunity to share in this springtime. So it's good advocacy movement. Would like to also highlight our Board of Education on the Missouri School Board Association and MASA, which is the Missouri Association of School Administrators. They team up to host a fall conference. And on October the 2nd of that conference, Michael Fisk and Matt Cleveland will be serving on a panel during a presentation at this conference. Both will share and highlight best practices that led our board to earning the distinction of Outstanding Board of Education in Teaching, Learning, and Assessment. And I want to thank Mr. Fisk and Mr. Cleveland for their willingness to go and serve on that panel and to represent us. So thank you very much, and represent our district and highlight the great work that our teachers and staff are doing in the district students. Would also like to note that Mr. Fisk and I will also be presenting at the MSBA conference. We will be highlighting the growth of our learning organization. This is another tremendous opportunity to really highlight and brag on our students and staff for all they're doing to promote and grow student achievement and enhance teaching and learning. We'll be sharing our journey towards excellence, equity, and college and career readiness for every student we serve. So we look forward to that. We also have the Mayor Conference coming up, which we are also a member of Mayor. It will be held on October 25th, 26th, and 27th. Please let me know if you would be interested in attending this conference, because this is a wonderful opportunity, again, to learn more about roles, responsibilities, and leading a learning organization. It's just great professional development and growth and workmanship. Communication, the District Connect Committee we established last year. This is a district staff advisory committee, and it will help to enhance internal communication. We will start this month having monthly DCC meetings to highlight district goals, action steps, and plans. Again, our mission of the DCC committee is to improve internal communications, develop goodwill ambassadors to share positive news within our school and community, to provide data and feedback towards implementation and enhancement of the Mission 2020 plan. Again, this helps to support our mission to communicate, collaborate, and connect, and partnering together as a school and community to support educational excellence and equity for every student we serve. So we will be sending out invitations to our district team members for that meeting that will be coming up. A mentoring update, another important partnership. we have with Lightning Air Force Base and our local Knob Noster community has been revived. We will have our next mentor training on Friday, October the 2nd in the Knob Noster High School Library. Again, if anyone is interested in coming to that training or serving as a mentor, please contact Amanda Wesley, who is our district mentoring coordinator. And that is the end of my report.
MSBA is online for anybody that wants to go and listen to that lightning report.
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to offer a special welcome to our installation commander, General Tibbetts, as well as his senior enlisted advisor, Chief Drinker, who are here visiting with us tonight. Would also like to announce that our Air Force is 68 years young this week, and we will be celebrating the birthday of the Air Force with our annual Air Force Ball this Saturday. Another huge event coming up for us at the end of the month is the nuclear surety inspection. This is one of our major significant emotional events for all of our folks as we're graded on our nuclear surety and security processes across the base. Couple of school-related items. We have a Good Ideas project where we're supporting middle and high school art students who are coming on the base as part of their art project for some historical things for the area. And so they're coming on base. I'm going to visit with the wing commander, visit Oscar One, some other places, I suppose, to get some good ideas for that art project, and we're excited to support that. Another one coming up would have been in September, but we couldn't find good dates. We're looking at October 14th, I think now, for the middle school. It's a student leadership team that we're looking to support with some leadership forum, leadership exposure, visit kind of a thing, 3 or 4 events that we'll put on for the middle school folks that they're going to send up to us to spend some time with. And that is my Whiteman report for this week or this month, unless there are questions.
Mrs. Matthews, I'd like to note too, and I know as Colonel was out of town last week, but Colonel and Mrs. Sparks were recognized as our outstanding, one of our outstanding partners in education. And so I'd just like to formally thank Colonel Sparks because we didn't get to last week. So congratulations. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you for that support. Moving on to new business, approval of bills. Are there any questions about the bills?
So I'll move that we approve bills Form A and the P card bill checks as presented.
The loan amount that's on there, the interest loan, are we closing out that loan?
That's the interest we have to pay. We're on a schedule. We have to pay interest on
Right,
that.
but are we closing out the loan from both?
Well, we don't close it out till what we are doing is we're starting our payment schedule on the 2013 note. We are going to close that account that we had for financing, the projects that we were finishing up with the safe and secure entryways. And so that will be closed, but then we have interest payments and payments that will have regular scheduled payments that we have to make in the fall and in the spring.
Yes, the question is, so if it's approved, how do you complete the project?
Pretty close. We're still working on some camera installations, but we're working on that. Yes. Once we do that.
So once we complete that,
Right.
then we'll close out on that.
Well, no, we're trying to roll over what we had in the contingency monies, and then that rolls back in, and that goes towards our lease payments on the interest and the principal amount. We're still going to have to make payments. It's on the amortization schedule that was attached to the budget. So, we did finish and close out completely our 2012 note, and that was last year.
I'll second.
That's right, one question. Why do we still have Terry Combs showing up on P-card bills?
The reason we do, and that's a good question, Mr. Pendilli, is that her credit card was used at the time. We had to make those reservations several months ago, or well, at least 3 or 4 months ago.
I
And
thought
so
that I asked, though, that card be cut up and
it was, but they still use the original number and name when you make that reservation. It is cut up. I personally cut it up myself.
Are there any other questions?
Yes, what is the $240 to OPA for walking Cooper down for?
That is
What's
for
that about?
food loss, Mr. Judd. When our cooler went down, there's food loss on that.
I guess where I'm going with the loan, Dr. Lorenz, is we took out a loan to get the front of the buildings done,
Yes,
for whatever dollar
Right,
amount that
right,
was.
right.
We finished the front of the building.
Yes, and that part has been closed out, but we haven't closed out the loan as we haven't paid it off. But that-
Well, I didn't ask if we paid
Right,
it off. I
right.
wanna know, we're not gonna spend any more
No.
money.
No, you're not. No, ma'am. No more is being spent.
Well, you just said we had the camera, so. is the
Well, but
camera-
we've already spent that money.
We've already approved the
Yes,
expenditure on the
yes,
cameras.
Yes.
But out of that loan money?
Yes,
Right out of that
it's
loan
been-
money is what we did
Yes.
before.
And so all I'm saying is that not all the cameras are up. You know, the financial expense has been taken care of.
So we're not gonna borrow any more money?
No, ma'am.
All right, are there any other questions about the bills? We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Summer school overview,
Yes, thank you, Mrs.
Hold on,
Matthews.
we have Form B bills.
Yes, we formed it.
I make a motion to approve Form B bills.
I second the motion, we approve the bills. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at those Form B bills?
Yes.
We have a second on Form B bills.
Yeah, you seconded it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Now summer school?
Yes. Mrs. Matthews, thank you. It's my privilege at this time to introduce Suzanne Diego. She is new with Catapult Learning, and she is here to highlight our K through 8 program this summer, followed by Mrs. Williams, who will highlight our high school program. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Dr. Lorenz. And thank you to the board for allowing me to come speak.
Yeah.
My name is Suzanne Diego. I am the Director of Operations for Catapult Learning for Summer Journey. And I wanted to come talk with you this evening about the summer school program that we did for your district. I'm handing out to you a copy of the final report. So tonight I wanted to talk a little bit about why have a summer school program. The school year is already very long when we meet as the requirements and with the hours the kids go. But what research has shown us is that if we don't provide summer school for our kids, the summer slide effect happens. And that depending on the socioeconomic level, kids can lose as much as 3 months of a reading ability in the short time of summer. So it is important to provide kids with some kind of structured activity that keeps them engaged in learning through the summer. And that's what Catapult endeavors to do, is to provide a rich academic curriculum while still kids having fun in a hands-on learning environment. Now, what Catapult does for districts is not rocket science. The districts can do much of what we do themselves, but we believe that as a company, we bring an advantage to school districts who are wanting to do a summer school program. And there are 2 advantages that are primarily. First is to prevent that academic slide I talked about, but the second is to help capitalize with the funding that the state provides for summer school. Some of the pieces of our summer school program that we provide is program flexibility. We work with the district to find out what best meets your needs. And so how many days is that program, the length of time, and then offering over 100 different courses that a district can choose from that really meets the needs of their students. We also help maximize that funding by the enrollment support, and so working with the district to get the most number of kids involved as possible. That can come in the form of the DVD we provide, that's marketing materials. We provide different incentives to get kids to sign up. I'm sure many of you saw them walking around with the backpacks that they got at the beginning. And then doing a lot of that enrollment, and this year I think for non-master we actually put ads in the newspaper to try to boost their enrollment as well. And reaching out and providing all of those forms and paperwork that come at a time when the district is getting ready for state testing and really concentrating on the business of running school. We take care of a lot of that background work so that your staff can be engaged in teaching and learning process. During the summer school program, that pre-work and then during the summer, you have a regional operations manager. Your operations manager was Wallace Stiles, and he works with the district to coordinate delivery of materials, to coordinate those enrollment forms, and then during summer school also to coordinate the incentives kids get. One of the ways we pop down to student incentives is to maximize the financial, the lucrativeness of the financial piece of the money is to get kids here. And so students receive gift cards for perfect attendance and then for near perfect attendance as well. Just really trying to encourage them to stick with the program and not drop out. We also have professional development that is available to teachers to help them implement our program, and then the end of the summer report that I've shared with you, or I'm sharing with you this evening. So this year, your program model was 24 consecutive 7-hour school days, which was 168 program hours. So your students received 168 hours of education over the summer. It ran May 26th to June 26th, full day program, and we helped provide services for grades K through 8. The morning is a focus on academics. So students will take a reading, a language arts, math, and then science and social studies. And then the afternoon is what we call our journey courses. So again, they have an academic piece to them, but they're very focused in that hands-on. So they may be PE. Summer Seuss is one of them. So you still do the reading piece, a lot of hands-on activities, but it's all based around Dr. Seuss literature and activities that go with that. One of our districts did a course this year, garden art. So learning about the garden and science and nature and some hands-on projects like that. So really, those courses are typically half of the program. So kids get an opportunity to explore 6 of those and really deepen their understanding and learn and more fun, engaging activities than what we see during the traditional school year. So how did Summer Journey do this summer? Your students took an assessment the second day of summer school and the last day of summer school. And we saw a growth of 52% this year in mathematics and 46% in communication arts. And that is even higher than the growth we saw with your students last year as well. So again, fighting that summer slide, showing that your kids did show growth over the summer. We also surveyed your parents, and I think it's important to point out that 92% of the parents in non-master would recommend that summer journey to other families. And I highlighted some of the comments that they made in the surveys, and you have the full list of comments in your packet. My son had a great time at school. He came home happy every day and woke up excited to go in the morning. I attribute his success and enjoyment to the teachers and staff. Thank you so much for the great program. My child was motivated to attend because of the incentive. She's enjoying attending. Lots of great comments on that. So we'll move now to the financial piece and just talking about what the district gains financially by running a summer school program with Summer Journey. There are a lot of figures in here and formulas that are going on behind the scenes, but the program is based on student enrollment and student attendance hours. The more students we have enrolled, the more that attend, the greater the gain for the finances. At the end of the day, after everything is paid, all of that, we estimate, and I will say this estimate is on the low side, and I can talk about why it's on the low side, that the district will recoup from the state $260,992. It's on the low side. I say that because the prop C factor that I used in these calculations is for last year. We anticipate DESI raising that to $922, which will cause a greater multiplier, but I also don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. And that is also doing an estimate on your payroll costs as well from the original piece. So looking ahead, I will be the first to admit that this summer was stressful for us with Catapult Learning. We had taken on a new partnership with a vendor and supplying our materials. And our vendor, I will say, was one that overpromised and underdelivered. So we had material issues. And I will call your attention, if you look at teacher comments in this report, that there were teachers who had serious concerns about the materials arriving late and not arriving. We had those concerns as well. As a result, it's how I came into my role because of some of these concerns, and we have established a task force to deal with these issues. So the vendor that we used is no longer in our services, and we are looking to a new vendor to make sure that we have the materials here, because you can't teach kids if you don't have what you need. And so that is a piece that we are addressing. The other piece that we are addressing, which falls near and dear to my heart, I am a 20-year Missouri educator before I took this position working in public schools, is the curriculum. This was a great program and developed in the year 2000, and when Catapult bought it from Edison Learning, it had a lot of great bones, a lot of great structure, but Edison let it fall apart. I'll call it out. They didn't do a lot of the updating we needed. So as I dug into this curriculum as an operations manager this last year, there were references to payphones, references to cassette tapes. And unfortunately, unless our kids are into retro, into those things, they don't know what those are. So we're really working hard this year and bringing our curriculum up to date, looking at more technology enhanced courses, and looking at a STEAM focus, so science, technology, engineering, art, and math, and really focusing on that. We'll have 6 new courses online that are technology courses, including programming courses for our middle schoolers. So those are my updates on the Summer Journey program, and I'd be happy to answer any questions for you.
What was our enrollment this year compared to last year?
The enrollment was slightly down, I want to say by about 25 students.
Did we get reimbursed because your vendor didn't come through?
We worked out an arrangement with Dr. Lorenz for that, absolutely.
So we got financial reimbursement for that?
Yes.
And where are you going to get your information to integrate STEAM?
We are working with several Missouri educators who have a background in curriculum instruction in STEAM and looking at those courses and what are the best out there.
Well, is there more than one school that has STEAM, Ms. Williams?
There's more than one school. We're the only district that is non-K-12, because there are schools that are pocket schools.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, the experience that you have in our district versus other districts, because I mean, how many different districts are you in?
We serve 29 at this point.
Okay, absolutely. And so what kind of things do you take away? What positives do we have versus other programs? What negatives do we have versus other programs?
I think every district is a unique set of circumstances, and I will be the first to admit I'm still learning your district as taking on this role. I worked for Catapult last year in a variety of roles, including an operations manager. In looking at your results and really digging in and getting ready for tonight, one of the pieces I think is going to be providing professional development for your teachers and really coming through with this curriculum piece, because a lot of their criticisms are very accurate, which tells me that you've got a great group of teachers working for you. And they're very knowledgeable and know what they need to reach students' needs. And so really working with that. So those would be the pieces that I take away.
And as far as like, enrollment numbers versus the final ADA numbers, is that trend in line with what you see with other districts where we're not falling off at a greater rate, or we're not doing a much better job than other districts?
We typically, the average, we always encourage districts to over enroll, so to speak, because just natural attrition will be a 10% decrease. And so really to try to hit those target numbers, you know, we will do what we can to push for enrollment every year because it's good for kids, number one. It gives them something to do during the summer, and that academic piece is so important. But it's good for the district as well. So we'll, you know, work with the operations manager. We'll work with April and really looking at what I love is you get to know your district when you're the operations manager. What works? You know, one of my districts, I'll say, took our DVD and showed it as a trailer at the beginning of the movies. They had a theater in there. So different pieces like that. We'll have principals ride a bicycle around the school and then raffle that off if that works to get kids. So it depends, and it's really getting to know your partners.
Did we have more kids drop out? I know like last year we had certain schools that had more kids drop out than others of the program instead of continuing the whole way. Are numbers the same around or?
I don't know those off the top of my head. I could dig into those and email them so I can back to lines.
Okay, thank you.
So when you come up with this amount of money that we made off of this, which is a net surplus of $260,000, is that including what we had to pay the teachers and support staff?
Yes, that is an estimate because I don't know what your actual costs are, but based on what we recommend, that was my estimate on that. So yes.
And that's factoring in transportation costs and
Absolutely, we actually reimburse partial transportation costs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming this evening. And Ms. Williams for our high school program.
And the high school program is a little bit different. We offer some courses for students, and then if we have enough students sign up, your classmates, then we offer those classes. So this year we have 2 personal finance classes and 1 health class. We had enough students to fill those classes. And then we also had some students who were doing some remediation. They've just kind of fallen behind and they were using Apex as a way to catch up. So that really helped one of our students actually graduate with his group of peers. So high school's a little bit different. It also only goes 8 to 11. And it really helps in some sense. We had the high school at the middle school this year with Coach Easterwood, and we ended up having 20 A+ tutors. And those kids, several of them would walk down, they took health or they took personal science, and then they walked down to the elementary school and they helped out. And I would say that they were invaluable assets at all of the buildings that they helped out in. They logged over 100,000 minutes across the group of 20, and so they really came and they stuck with the program and were here even that first week because summer school for the high schoolers went 1 week shorter than for the other students, and they were here that first week working all day long, and so they really made a commitment. So I just have to commend our A+ students because they really did a fabulous job. And I've given you some highlights just so you kind of know what we expect when we look at our minutes. We're expecting maybe 1.5 ADA to come out of the high schools because of the number of students and those things. So that's pretty much high school. Any questions?
Well, one comment on the Apex, that's a grade recovery program. So you
Yes.
actually have to fail the class before you qualify for the
Yes.
Apex program.
Yes, so we only had a
So,
few kids who were.
And because that student took the Apex class, they were able to graduate on that.
Yes, they were
had
able
no
to
other
finish up the
alternative.
class that they had done.
And that's an online training class.
Are we looking at increasing the high school program to help students out?
Well, we offered several different classes, and it just kind of depends on what weeks. So that's.
What about any options other than Apex to maybe help those kids out that are failing certain classes that need some real helping,
Well, and the
maintaining better grades?
And the Apex really took several different, courses, so, there was somebody taking English next to somebody taking Algebra 2. So they had more diversity, it wasn't all the same course in the Apex group. And then obviously if they failed personal finance, they could have taken personal finance with the other students.
Well, I guess one of the issues I have is we have to pay for these Apex classes and they're not cheap. So the more students that are enrolled in those classes, the more it's gonna cost the district. But the good thing is they are recovering their grades.
Right, and that's, the majority of our students were in personal finance and health science. All right.
Thank you, April.
So I just wanted to let you know that for the upcoming year, we are going to get a group of teachers together and we're gonna kind of let know, we've had 2 years of what we've received it in summary, we can go over that and as a team, come up with a recommendation.
Well, it was my understanding that the board asked you guys to do this already and to go ahead and get our own program, for this. And now we're gonna put it off for another year.
I don't know that we're putting it off for another year, but we're going to take what we learned and
Right, but
Look
it
at
takes,
what we
it takes
are
a
going to-
considerable amount of time to prepare appropriately.
yes, it does.
And
And last year, we did not have the time to start writing the curriculum. That's something we'll have to look at and, if we're going to pull teachers from classrooms or we're going to pay teachers to write curriculum, those are decisions that the board have to make. So that's what we're looking at, how many hours, what do you think it would behoove us to do? Because we had talked about doing a second year to really work out some of the kinks, see if this program will work for us, and then moving forward from there. So I think that we have the information now to figure out and add to our understanding.
When you put this summer school committee together, is it gonna be some of the folks that taught summer school the last 2 years on that committee?
Yes.
Good.
I've already, actually, at the end of summer school, I sent out an email and I've already had some responses that they would like to work on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So all in favor of approving the summer school,
It's just a
It doesn't have to be
over.
Yeah.
parent as child educator program?
Dr. Robinson.
Good evening. So I was just going to do a little overview of the program evaluations for parents and teachers from 14 to 15 school year, and I hope you guys have the information in front of you. So kind of the big thing that I wanted to continue to emphasize is that we are moving to parents as teachers, and that this program is really designed to help build a partnership and relationship between the school district and our community and our parents, and as we have kids coming up into our school. And I really feel like that this program is doing an excellent job of that. You should have also received a survey at the end of it that kind of showed what our parents had indicated, their agreement or disagreement with some of the statements.
Did they know that strongly disagree or even an option? Because it didn't look like anybody even chose
They
those.
did.
Okay.
They did know those were options in that. Good question, but hey, it's awesome, right? Anyway, so our goal is really just to build those strong relationships, and you can see kind of on the bottom, we were talking about some of our strengths, that we are able to serve quite a few students, even with the 14-15 school year, we just had a part-time parents and teachers educator. So she did 248 personal visits during the school year. We also do screenings to look at kids to see if there's any potential delays and any services that we need to offer from the school district for students. And then you can also see on the success of the program that we have some doubles data there from when they entered kindergarten based on whether they were as part of the program or not part of the program. And the students who were in parents as teachers and then went into kindergarten scored pretty well. We didn't have anybody in that well below range if they had already been a part of the parents as teachers program, which I think is a big plus. Some of the things that we're looking at this year is we did increase the parents as teachers educator to a 0.75 FTE for this school year. We are doing our parents as teachers affiliate, which does have some requirements that are a little bit different than what we've had in the past as far as the number of visits that we're required to do, the number of times that we have to visit families, some other requirements as far as doing some monthly meetings and doing some activities where we bring in groups of our students together.
And so, one of the things that I've asked our parent educators to do is just kind of track her hours, her data, and how many families is she serving, and how much time is she spending on it, to see if we can get this in our full-time position down the road with the new requirements for parents and teachers. The other thing that we are looking at is we've got a new data system. When they switched over to parents and teachers, they're asking us to roll over our data from an old system to a newer system. And so we're still kind of working through that. I just received an email the other day about them still working out some tweaks to make sure that we can get into a healthy system that keeps track of all their data and if we talk to our families. And she puts all their screening information and all their data about data screens and such in there. So those are a couple things that we're still kind of working through right now. And then changes, like I said, since we're moving to parents and teachers, we did spend a little bit of money sending our parent educators to some trainings. There were some required trainings that she had to complete. And then I'm actually having to complete a training starting tomorrow for parents and teachers. So I'll be going to that. Do you guys have any questions about the parents and teachers program?
I guess can you back up to the DIVL data? I guess I'm a little bit confused at exactly. I hate the word benchmark for one. I always feel like that takes care of the kids that know what's going on, and it never addresses either the smarter kids or the children that are having a more difficult time. But I guess I don't understand where it says district kindergarten at or above 75.8%. What does that mean?
So when we're looking at doing a DIVLS assessment, it kind of comes up with these three different descriptors. So one is that they're at or above the expected level that we would want them to be for their kindergarten age.
Okay.
Then they're below the expected level, and then they're well below the expected level.
Because
So where it
that's
says
in
district-
our education system, right?
This is, DIVLS is actually a norm reference assessment, so we are looking at not just Mount Oscar, but it's been referenced on kindergartens across the states. Okay? So when you look at district kindergarten, those are kids who weren't a part of the parents and teachers program, but came in day one as a new kindergartner that didn't have any early intermediate services. And then when you look at the parents and teachers kindergarten, those kids received early intervention services from the parents and teachers, and then came into kindergarten and took the test.
But it says 37.5 were below.
Correct.
So isn't that I'm reading that as that's not good.
Well, we would like them to be at or above,
Okay.
but we also didn't have anybody well below.
So are we thinking this is successful?
Well, so you realize that parents and teachers is targeting that, kids that are socioeconomically, disadvantaged when it comes into the program. So some of those kids that are getting help with parents and teachers are kids that we're saying we're anticipate would have been in well below if they hadn't got any support. And so I think that's my understanding of the program is it definitely targets, kids that don't have as many socioeconomic resources. And so that's where you're seeing growth from well below to a below. Is it where we want it to be? I don't think that's what you're saying, right?
No. I'm not saying that we don't have room for improvement.
I guess what I need is I just need to sit and visit with you and you explain this a little better to me, because as what I'm looking at, trying to understand here, it doesn't look good.
Okay.
But I'll just visit with you in your office.
That's fine, we can do that, absolutely. Okay. Any other questions, Doug?
About the switch the database system, why would we switch that again? I mean, is
It's
there a
not us switching it, it's parents and teachers as the affiliate, as the company is switching database systems.
So do they dictate whether or not we have to switch?
It's part of our reporting process. Yeah. What we were using before wasn't a district program either. It was something that we were using through the parents and teacher aggregators. And so they're switching to the database system as part of their reporting system. So it's a state level piece of it, not a district one.
Okay, thank you.
No, trust me, we would like to not switch. Because it's been really tough to get all the information in. And we're a little concerned about all of our information rolling over from previous years. That's been some of the concerns from a lot of districts, is how all that should be done.
So are they providing then something?
They are continuing to work on it, yes. Yeah. We can still access the old system right now because they are still trying to work out the kinks. And so we're kind of in limbo. We can continue to put stuff in the old system. However, eventually we're gonna have to roll it over. So we're kind of trying to do both, as soon as they give us the okay to put them stuff in the old system.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple questions. If we're targeting socially and economically, economical children, how do we get?
Well, and they're not all, we do have several families that are high need families, and so they do fall in that range. But anybody can access the program. You just have to ask if our parent educator can come out and access the program. We have flyers, we put information in the paper. It's, the parent educator goes out into the community. She makes a lot of contacts, goes to a lot of community businesses and talks to people, and she's really very outgoing on business. She gets out there and does a lot of, so it's a lot of
But we
work.
might miss some kids.
It's possible.
Well, the growth area last year was 6 to 10% too. And I see annually our growth is 6 to 10% at the same level that we were last year. So I don't see that, are we making any headway in the parents and teacher program?
I would say yes, that we are. I think we see that when the kids come in, they're more prepared for school and they're better adjusted. And we're putting resources in the hands of teachers or in the hands of parents to act as teachers for their students and give them ways to interact. And but even just, I mean, I don't know if anybody here is not a parent, and they're home. But it's a fabulous program, and they actually go in and they teach parents how to interact with their kids, how to interact with the toys, the books, how to ask questions when you're reading, how to engage them in having kind of some higher level thinking skills. And it's just a way to better prepare them for coming into kindergarten, but it also is a better way to prepare parents and teachers to develop this relationship where they're all working together to help the kid.
A lot of these children that this is referencing, are they part of the Head Start program also, or they choose not to go, or the parents choose not to send them to Head Start?
They're not connected. So you could be in parents as teachers and possibly attend Head Start. There's no connection there. It's not an either or one or the other. And some of you might know too, I mean, it's anywhere from 0 to 5. So, we can start working with newborns.
And where do we get our funding?
You'll see on the state monies that we got $18,242.
And it was lowered?
I'm sorry.
It was lowered? Was it?
I don't know if it was lowered.
One of the parents' comments on the survey is that the funding has been cut.
That might just be a perception on their part.
And what the state has, not provided as much funding for the program, so that is true. The newspapers have reported that, Desi's having.
I don't know how much that's not.
I do have a question, all along with the money side of it in the state. The legislature and the governor has got a big push for early childhood education and all that. So are we anticipating this year and the coming years, then they'll push more to parents as teachers with that push on early childhood, or are they more looking funding to pre-K type class?
I honestly don't know what direction they're going to go in. They are pushing early intervention services, but whether that means an increase of funding for parents as teachers, I don't know. It's really kind of gone up and down over the years, just like early childhood education's kind of gone up and down over the years, so it's really hard to say. No, I heard it.
Yeah, and from what I mean, it is definitely a partisan issue. And so there is one side that's pushing early childhood, and there's one side that's pushing pretty hard against it. So it's just, and right now, so that's where where there hasn't been any additional money devoted to it, because it's very much a partisan issue.
Well, I make a motion that the board approve the program evaluation for parents and teachers.
I'll make a motion to approve the program as presented. Aye.
All right, you guys are stuck with me again. That's on the list, right?
Yes.
Critical thinking,
Yes.
program, okay.
Yes,
So again, a couple things I kind of wanted to point out about this program evaluation is, some of our staffing changes. So you'll notice from 14-15, we basically had 3 teachers that taught like a block of critical thinking gifted. And now we have a 0.5 teacher who's doing the critical thinking gifted instruction during the day. And so far, we've been thinking that this is going to be a good plan. And it gives an opportunity for some of the kids to come together and it provides a little bit bigger groups and they have some chances to interact and do some project-based learning. And so a lot of hands-on learning. And so that's one of the things that you'll notice the difference between 14-15 compared to when you look over and our changes that right now are the 0.5 certified gifted teachers. The other thing to notice is just some of the map data. And I just went ahead and put in how many students it's based on because I think sometimes it can be a little deceptive, especially like when you look at the Algebra 1 DOC, 100% were proficient or advanced. Only 2 kids took it, so that's like 50% were advanced because 1 was proficient and 1 was advanced. So when you just look at the number, I think it makes it easier to just see there were only 2 kids who took that. And then the STAR reading scores from 2nd to 3rd grade from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, we saw that they were all above, but then they continued to progress throughout the year, making significant progress. And so the end of the year, they were significantly above the grade levels as well. As far as the purpose of the program and the strengths and decision-making, problem-solving skills, really looking at getting students ready for that college and career readiness. We also were able to take our high school critical thinking team to regionals for destination imagination goals by the city. Mr. Clayton, did you do that?
Not this year.
Not this year, but you've been doing it in the
Yes.
past. It's a really neat program. It is
Completely.
yeah, and so that was an excellent, but we got to be able to take more kids to that. As far as recommended changes, we are still looking at that teacher and whether a 0.5 is enough for next year, if that's something that we want to look at. We want to make sure that we're providing good services for those kids. Right now, everybody is getting bused to the high school, so we're kind of looking logistically too if there's another way to do that. And if we could, if we change how that person's day would be different a little bit differently. And then we're also looking at just kind of reevaluating our process for students qualifying for the gifted program. Right now, they go through some pretty lengthy exams, a couple of them actually, and there are some really good screening tools that are designed for the critical thinking gifted program that are a little bit quicker, but they get down to looking at a lot of different areas, not just the academic piece, but also the creativity piece, which is a big part of gifted education. And so we're kind of examining those things to get the teacher and I are to see if there's another way that we can look at that and kind of reduce that amount of time. Currently, kids don't get referred for the program until January. And then because of the length of the exams, we basically do all of the testing from January all the way through the summer. And so we really want to look at trying to take recommendations for those students in October, get them in the program if they're eligible, and start servicing them right away instead of having them wait basically a whole year before they get new services. So that's another reason why to look at how we're doing that eligibility piece.
We did it, and some of our teachers have now, and provided some enrichment opportunities. But this is our first year to have actually a gifted teacher, and she's fully certified to be a gifted teacher. We're very excited about that. That's been some advances. And so we're looking to grow the program.
In the past, there had been a critical thinking program, and it went on for several years. Has any reference been made to that program instead of reinventing the wheel, of maybe looking at that program and extracting some data from that to see how that was conducted?
We have all of the information about how the eligibility is going to determine, and like we were just discussing, really, we didn't have an actual certified gifted teacher doing a true gifted class in the past. This is the first year that we've had that person who's actually certified to be a gifted teacher and has the training in that area. We're not going to revamp everything, but I think it's important that we identify kids and that we get them services if they're eligible. in a little bit more expedited than they're basically waiting an entire year to get services. And so that's part of why we want to kind of look at another way to do it to see. We're not looking at really changing the program. We're just looking at if there's some other tools that we can use for assessment that don't take so much time for the students to complete so that it doesn't drag out for basically six to 7 months.
And,
I remember in the past, it was an excellent program. I think 2 of my daughters were in it.
and Vanessa McKenzie has reached out to Wilma Kinder. So
Okay,
she was our longtime teacher
Yeah, I
for
didn't wanna-
gifted education.
Oh,
Yes, absolutely. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
she has reached out to her because what used to be Odyssey of the Mind, now it's
Right.
Destination Imagination. That was
Matter of fact, I
her
think you were in
thing.
that program.
I wasn't.
You weren't?
No.
Oh, I remember you being there.
I appreciate that.
Giving you more credit.
No, not in our district here. I was not Destination Imagination, but I would have been because it's really cool. I mean, it's really pretty amazing what those kids can accomplish. So, yeah, absolutely.
You guys have any other questions?
I think it's an excellent program. I will always support it.
So,
Recommendation that we approve the program as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
MLC.
Oh,
Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is the local compliance plan certification statement. And I believe you guys received the link for the local compliance plan. Basically, in a nutshell, the federal people make their regulations. They pass it down to the state. The state takes the recommendations from federal, they interpret it, and they do a Missouri state plan. And then Missouri even interprets that even more and sends it to the local level for us to do a local plan. So really, this we're using the model form. The only 2 things that we had to indicate as a district is there were 2 areas that we had to check mark. So one of them is determination of eligibility for young children ages 3 through 5. And we had some choices as to whether we wanted to identify all children with a disability category of young child with developmental delay. If we wanted to identify all children using a category of using only the category of young child with developmental delay, or identify all children as eligible using any disability category, including young child with developmental delay. So basically, for students who are under school age, we can look at young child with developmental delay as a way to make them eligible to receive those early childhood special education services. We also have the option of using what we like to call school age eligibility. So we can also identify students as autism, or we can identify them as language impaired or have a specific learning disability. And so what this is asking is, do we want to have both options available for us depending on how the student meets criteria? And I would recommend that we have both options available to us. And the other part of that is once students become kindergarten age eligible, we have until the age of 6 to use a school age eligibility if they are identified as young child with developmental delay. But we can say that we will only keep them as young child with developmental delay, or we can do any disability category after the 5. So for example, if we have a student who's already in the program and they go to kindergarten, the question is, can we keep them as young child with developmental delay to go to kindergarten if they haven't turned 6 yet? Or do we want to say we can't keep them and give them services anymore? We have to evaluate them before they go to kindergarten and see if they qualify for school age eligibility. And so my recommendation is we have the option of keeping it until they turn 6, so that we can continue those services in the kindergarten and see how they transition. And then the other part that we had to answer a question on is purchase of instructional materials. And there are 2 options on this one. And one is that we will coordinate with the National Instructional Materials Access Center with purchasing print instructional materials. And the other one is that we are not required to coordinate with IMAX. And basically, we do get services right now for some students who are visually impaired. We don't primarily only use IMAX. We do have lots of different places that we access materials. And I just kind of wrote down a couple, like the Wilkes Library, Library Services for the Blind, Bookshare. So by saying that we won't just use NIMAX, it gives us other options, but we can still, use NIMAX as one of our resources if we want. So I recommend that we open it up to use NIMAX or other resources as we've done in the past. And those are the only two things that we have to identify different from model compliance.
Any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. No, I mean, there wouldn't be any advantage to doing, to slimming the scope, right? I mean, I can understand, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think so, but I just want to make sure, so, okay. So I'll move that we approve the local compliance plan for special education as presented.
I'll second it. And there's just a statement that needs to be signed, that we're present in the problem, so we'll get that next.
What do
All right.
you need, Dr. Robinson, when she needs to sign that?
We'll sign it.
Yeah, we can
have a
sign it
copy.
tonight, yeah. I need a copy.
The three of us have to sign.
But didn't you say you were going to a two-track program? This only says adopt model compliance. Didn't you say you wanted to use two different avenues instead of the model?
The model makes you make a choice, I think is what
Yeah,
she said.
there are choices within the model plan. So those were the two things that we had to make a decision about, is how we identify students' eligibility and then using the resources.
So what is the difference between option A and B?
Option A says that we are just adopting the model compliance plan. B says that we're adopting it, but we're making revisions to it. So we could go through this page by page and decide if there are things in here that we wanted to change. Then if we would change them, we have to submit them to get approval from Jesse. And then, option C is that we write our own compliance plan.
You want, there's different avenues within adopting the model
Yes.
compliance.
The model compliance plan
That allow
includes those two
okay.
choices. Yes, yes. Yeah, we
Yes.
don't have to submit, it's not considered, when we submit, when we decide which one goes we want to.
It gives us greater flexibility.
Any other questions?
Okay, moving right along.
We need to vote on that.
Oh, I thought we did already. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Conflict of interest policy, B, D, F, A, it says two on the,
Yes, two, yeah,
no, there say two on our,
it does on the agenda there, updated when you have an open. On this policy, the reason we're reviewing this is on our yearly, calendar that each year we're expected to and required to review this policy. It's just a reminder. It is a board member conflict of interest and financial disclosure policy. All directors of the non-master R8 school district, Board of Education shall adhere to the laws regarding conflict of interest and avoid situations where the decisions or actions in their capacity as board members conflict with the mission of the district. And I'd like to note also that, and myself, including myself, and every board member, we have to, file with the Missouri Ethics Commission a financial disclosure statement each year. We are going to send out reminders. I think that's going to start in November when we can start uploading that information electronically, but we're all required to do that. I think that's why they have us review it each year.
the information I got on that is it's supposed to be reviewed bi-yearly, not yearly.
Now, it was on our yearly calendar.
Well,
That's what I was left with.
Mr. Matthews, you're correct. It is every 2 years. And we reviewed this policy last September 10th. That policy was BBFA. And then we
Yeah, this
readopted
is
the
nice.
policy, on June 6th of this year was BBFA-2. So we've looked at this policy twice in the last year.
Well, that's what I said. It was on our district calendar, and that's considered best practice, just to review it each year to remind us
Well,
of the
we have
disclosure.
reviewed this policy we reviewed this policy, and that was just a few months ago.
So it says we did this on 9/11, should that be changed to 9/16?
That's just when it was uploaded.
No, it has, Ms. Matthews, it has to be turned in before September 15th. It has to be adopted, and then we have 7 days to turn it in. But it has to be adopted before, but we've already adopted this.
Yeah, it's already been adopted.
If you look at our past board meetings, you'll see that we readopted the policy last June.
Okay. Update board policies.
Yes, these were recommendations coming from the, well, we'll start with DDA. This was something in our review that we asked that for MSBA to look at because we wanted to make sure that we realize that our normally scheduled meetings will be held the second Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. in the Noster Library instead of the central offices where they used to have it in the conference room. Also, the next, so that was brought before the board last time. I believe we spoke to it and following up on that. The next 3 that we're asking to consider are just updates that are recommended. We have GBBDA, which is the family and medical leave. This is just based on statute changes, and I do have a reference copy in there that highlights what suggested changes. They've also struck out other changes as well.
Okay, so GBBDA
Yes.
is exactly the same wording, just in a different paragraph.
No.
No, it isn't.
Page 2 has other changes. Spouse.
Right. It's-
Covered active duty,
Yes.
where I see it's highlighted.
But there's
Right.
just
But
the
the definition of a
spouse.
spouse is different.
Covered active duty, exactly the same verbiage, is crossed out.
They just put it
Well-
up in order.
Yes.
They moved
They
it
just
down
moved it,
below.
so any change they highlight. And then you see the definition of a spouse. And
The
then
next change under spouse is the definition includes an individual of the same sex for common law marriage. Was that-
Right. Right. And then over on page 7, you can see they changed some language there as well. And also a 30-day notice period. On page 8, again, they defined, put in language to define spouses or reference spouses and reference FMLA leave. And those are the suggested changes. Okay,
And also CBG.
CBG is evaluation of the superintendent. This is, basically, they've added some information as requested by the State Board of Education. Again, they're trying to align the superintendent's evaluation more closely with the expectations of the teacher evaluation and the principal evaluation. And a lot of it deals with promoting student growth, being added into their collection of evidence and performance targets, feedback.
CGB is the NEE from the University of Missouri.
That is the model that we use.
So does, what happens if we change the model we use?
Well, this leaves great flexibility because it says that uses a performance instrument reflecting the essential principles of effective evaluation.
So the
No.
policy doesn't have any impact on changing?
Right.
No.
Right, just so it's aligned to the same leader standards, Mr. Burchett.
And we don't have to go by their evaluation.
No, we don't.
But we have to select either, if we decide to do our own model, if we decide to take the state's model, we have to do one that is standards, that has the same basis that all of the yellow is talking about. It has to be considering student achievement data. When we talk about the superintendent's evaluation, we talk about our principal's evaluation. That was required by the NCLB waiver.
But what we're
That the
getting at
Missouri-
is there are other, the MEC has their own also.
Oh, right, but yeah, they have to be approved by the
Yeah.
DESI,
But-
I mean, in order to be able to
But
be
the
used.
various programs, the various evaluation programs
Yes.
fall under this particular.
Yes, sure.
Gotcha.
Sure.
Understand.
And then on CFB is the last one that they're wanting us to update again, and this is evaluation of the principals. Again, have to be pursuant to, the new guidelines as required by the Missouri waiver, but also again, focus on student achievement, growing student achievement. So it's the same.
So next on here,
Well,
I make a motion to approve the policies as amended.
I second the motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
I know the fuel bid is next, and site separation. Dr. Weaver?
Good evening. This is the first of 3 action items on bids. This evening, it's our on-site bulk diesel fuel gasoline tanks, pumps, and containment. Back at the July meeting, we brought forward bids for off-site fuel procurement, which we've done in the past. There were a couple of concerns that were expressed with that, with the congestion around the in and out of the gas station. So we looked at, the board directed us to look at bringing that on site, and we've done so. So the process I want to mention briefly, we published a request for proposal, and we bid that out 2 ways. We looked first at doing a annual bulk purchase, one-time purchase of, we estimated 27,000 gallons of diesel, and then 4,000 gallons of unleaded gasoline. So we received, we posted that way, as well as doing the second option for the bid, which would be the daily OPUS, daily rate plus the markup, freight, and tax. So we had 2 options to consider. We did publish that, and we actually received no sealed proposals back. In that instance, it's appropriate for administration to then reach out to vendors directly. We were aware and had talked extensively with MFA, and we did reach out to them. They expressed interest in providing us a bid, and they have done so, and that is expressed here on the bid summary sheet. So after reaching out to them, they provided the prices as listed. We, in conjunction with Mr. Bezanga and myself, we feel that the option 2, the daily dynamic rate, is the option that we would recommend at this time. And as you can see in the yellow highlighted area, that includes a markup of 14 cents, 5 cents for freight. There's a 3-cent additive in the diesel fuel, and then the 17% state tax. So at the time of bid, that's going to bring us in at $203.53 per gallon of diesel. Very similar markup, 14 cents on the gasoline, 5 cents on the freight, and then 17 cents tax. There's no additive in the unleaded, so that price is 1.8196. So when we go to purchase that fuel, they'll take the previous OPUS amount out of the Kansas City office, and then that will be the markup for their delivery. So that's the bid we have. We've gone ahead and begun site preparation at the maintenance or the busing facility, and we think that we can have that in sometime in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And speaking with Dr. Lorenz, we wanted to give a 30-day notice to our current provider just for ordering, just kind of as a courtesy to make that transition. But I recommend that we go with option 2 for the purchase for the year, and this can be annually renewed up to 4 years after this one.
So it just goes down 30 cents,
Mhm.
hypothetically. We're still have to buy it at 2 or 3.
No, they'll take if it goes down, option 2 allows us the flexibility. We will move with the market price. If we go with option 1, that locks us in. So it's a little unpredictable right now, so that's why we bid it both ways. If the board feels one way or the other strongly, I think we're in good shape either way. But we can again bid that out if we see a trend or some type of world event where we feel like gas prices are going to jump up. it's a little reactive, but we do still have the option to bid out a bulk purchase and lock that rate in if we need to.
But the situation we're in right now, there's no guarantees if diesel goes up, that's what we're gonna end up paying as market price, whatever the gas station says it's gonna be.
Correct.
So, and what little discount they give us. Yeah.
So this bid does include the tanks. It's $1,000 or 1,000-gallon diesel tank. We have the smaller gasoline fuel tank, and then the containment, as well as the metered pumps to go with that.
And they're providing that equipment free of charge. It's included in the buy.
Correct. There's no additional cost. That's they get that out of their markup.
Who will be providing water testing and testing of the fuel on site?
Sure. We included in the specification that they will be required for maintenance of all equipment and quality control and assurance.
Okay. Thank you.
We, the district, again, had site preparation. We had electrical that we had to run out, and we will have to do the hookups. But we're pretty well ready to go.
How much is it costing to get the site ready?
Well, we actually have a little bit of a partnership going on. The district purchased a culvert at about $500, and Mr. Bazenga, feel free to chime in if I misspeak, but about probably $500 for a culvert, around $1,000 for gravel that we spread in behind the facility out in front. And then we have the state actually has installed that culvert today on a drive, and the city has granted permission for us to kind of circle drive up through the facility so that the buses can get in and out a little bit better. So I'm going to estimate probably another $1,000 in gravel before we're said and done. So we're looking at $2,500, and based on the bid comparison, the annual usage from the July bid to this one, I think we're going to recoup our money pretty quickly.
Sounds good. I make them.
Wait a minute, how are we gonna protect our fuel out there?
Good question. We are going to install a security light that's motion censored. We're also going to put a camera. Wanted to make sure before I said that you were aware. I thought you were. We're going to provide surveillance camera, and then we'll have locks and then a electric shutoff inside the facility. So we'll have 2 or 3 levels of security, and then we'll have a log for drivers to complete, and we'll do regular meter readings.
Has the property is behind the bus barn that you're gaining access on that road where the culvert has been put in, has there been a MOU with the city that has been signed allowing us to have access to that property, or has it just been on the handshake agreement?
No, we have a formal letter from the city that has granted us access and use of that property. They did request that we don't park vehicles there, but as far as a thoroughfare, I understand at one point that existed, and they've granted us permission formally to go ahead and use that.
Has there been any type of year stipulation put on that, or is it just if somebody gets mad, they can kick us off, or is there like a 99-year usage or something?
We did not make it time bound, and we could probably firm that up if need, but I think it would. I'm not sure that if I were the city, I would enter into a 99-year agreement without some kind of compensation or exchange. And right now, they've granted us use, but reserve the right to rescind that at some point if they felt the need to use the property.
Okay, do we have a second option then if that would happen?
We pull down as we have.
Thank you. I make a motion that we approve this bid option 2 as presented by Dr. Wheeler.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so second item tonight is the purchase of a maintenance vehicle for our maintenance department and transportation department to service our district. We actually took a very similar process. We accepted sealed bids through a request for proposal publication that went out in the local papers. We received 3 bids back. I didn't think I kept myself a copy. Heard back from Warrensburg Ford, Rick Ball Ford of Sedalia, and then Knapheide out of Kansas City was a 3rd bid, and they bid just the utility bed as well as an alternate snowplow. As you can see in the yellow highlighted area, our lowest responsible bid was from Rick Ball's Ford of Sedalia. The 2016 Ford F-350 Super Duty was bid at $26,221. The Boss DXT snowplow was $6,149.69, and then the Knapheide utility bed $5,645. A couple of things on this. Right now, we don't have a service vehicle, as many of you are aware, to service our maintenance department. Mr. Bazenga has been driving his personal vehicle, and although he does have some compensation for that, as you guys know, with vehicles, driving them around, and he could hit many, many miles picking up parts and back and through the district every day. So we wanted to provide this not only as a mobile work site for him to go to 2 sites and have some supplies with him, but also as a courtesy to his personal vehicle. So we're pretty pleased with where those came in. We have received a, I think it's the federal identification number, or fleet identification number rather, that may allow us some additional discounts. So we're going to see if we can apply that. But the recommendation is to go with the Rick Ball Ford Sedalia bid on all 3 of those items, not to exceed the listed price of, or the bid price of $38,015.69.
So are we installing the snowplow and utility bed, because some of those were
Yeah.
with installation, some weren't.
They were spec as an installed turnkey, so that's the total price, and they might even deliver it.
I would also like to reiterate on Mr. Bazenga using his own personal vehicle. He does receive a stipend each month. I figured out what that stipend is on a yearly basis. And if you figure out the amount of miles he's probably putting on his vehicle, 13,000, that equates to about 29 cents a mile that Mr. Bazenga would be getting to go towards fuel. The average rate for vehicles is 55 cents in today's world.
Right.
So it's not, I wouldn't think it's working out very well for him.
I would agree.
I make a motion, we accept the bid from Rick Ball Ford and Sedalia as written.
I'll second.
Is there any further conversation? All in favor?
Aye.
I think I saw him crack a smile back there.
Good. Is there any idea how long it will be before we get that vehicle?
We'll reach out to the dealership and get the ball rolling tomorrow, and we may end up taking delivery of that and then be ready to pay for that at next month's meeting. That's what we did on the minivan that we
Or
purchased.
can we get some type of approval to pay for that vehicle before we have to wait for another month? And
We could, but I don't think it'll be necessary by the time they install. We're going to be
okay.
a couple weeks out, so they may have to wait a few weeks, but
We want to get what we want to, I think is the other thing.
Okay.
I expected it out.
I'd include that in the, no, it's not black and orange. Could be, should. But the orange Charger is up next.
You could always have the audit people come provide.
So our 3rd item tonight for purchase, for response for proposal is our postage machine that runs out this month in the central office. That's the end of a 5-year lease and service agreement with 50 Bows. Again, we published this, and in hindsight, I probably would have dropped this one over into the Kansas City Star just for a little more publicity. I know there was a sweep account with Sedalia and Warrensburg papers, but we again didn't receive a formal proposal back. We followed up with 50 Bows. They had already provided a bid, and they extended that bid and the terms in alignment with the request for proposal. The 60-month contract, again, is what I would recommend for renewal. The cost for an upgraded machine, we went from a 300C digital postage meter to the newer upgraded model, which is 400C. And that cost actually dropped. The monthly cost is $139.79. So over the course of that 60 months, we're going to be a net deduction of around $300 in our cost for that machine. And again, we'll receive the same services, the same upgraded product, and then at a lower rate. So we felt that was a good win.
Is this just for the machines and we have to pay for the postage, or is it?
Yes, we do pay for the metered postage. So this is for the machine. It does the run through and all the sealing and automation.
For the whole district?
So when you say all the sealing, do we have to have specialized envelopes and other stuff to package?
Well, no, we just use our standard envelopes. It's, having recently gone through a very similar process, I'm very pleased with the outcome on this.
Good.
And we've been pleased with the service that's been.
I make a motion that we approve the postage machine from Pitney Bowes as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Thank you very much.
I'd like to make a comment on those bids, Dr. Wheeler. They look very professional, and I'm very happy with the way you present them.
Thank you.
Next is part of the reading process. I'm going to excuse myself from this part of the meeting. So that we can list. Matt?
Yep, that won't be next year. So Kelly, you're in charge.
Whoa. Wow.
So
I didn't practice.
Some things never change, huh?
Right?
So I guess, go ahead, Kelly.
Oh, okay, I have to find it. Okay, it was requested, I do believe it was last meeting, wasn't it? For this to be put on the agenda to be open for discussion. So that's what we're doing.
So, Paul, you want to take the first shot at it?
Well, my first question is, how did we arrive at the terminology global hardware bid when it's more like a local hardware bid or local area hardware bid?
I guess probably we're talking about the process.
Yes.
Because we don't have we didn't ask the administration to come up with a bid for us or a bid packet. We just said, hey, let's discuss the process so we can get this thing done.
Yeah, that's correct. We did discuss that last meeting. The issue has been, we have run out of funding. We are no longer able to purchase over $5,000 at the local hardware store due to the Missouri Ethics Commission restraints. And we are sending our maintenance people back and forth to Warren for multiple trips for small items and sometimes more than small items, but everything from toilet flapper valves to nuts and bolts to screws to miscellaneous small items and possibly big items, when we could be saving the district's money in accordance with board policy. As members, it's our financial responsibility to be conservative with the dollars of the taxpayers. That's where we're at today as far as trying to come up with a plan of action on putting some of the maintenance supplies or all the maintenance supplies up for bid. So we could try to spend more money at our local hardware store instead of spending money on, countless man hours and fuels and time spent in vehicles and maintenance to vehicles to only to have to drive long distances. So.
For me, I have two goals out of this process, and it might not be everybody else's goal, so definitely correct me if that's not the case. But one is at any time we are instituting a competitive bid, we are looking to do the best we can to make the most fiscally responsible decision so that we can make sure to keep as much money in our district as we can to spend it on kids as opposed to hardware when we can. So that's the first goal. Second one is to make sure that we are completing a process that is transparent and also it meets the Missouri Ethics Commission and our board policy, BBFA, as far as making sure that we are completing a process that does not have a conflict of interest. And I think that's why Mrs. Matthews has stepped out, because we had that lawyer advice that was something that she probably ought to do to make this work. So I appreciate that Dr. Wheeler actually produced a sample bid proposal for us to kind of take a look at. And I did take a look at it. Did everybody else take a look at that? What my concern would be with that particular bid proposal is that we had 2 bids go out this last month that we didn't receive any responses to. And what we're talking about in the bid proposal, just for the public, it was a cost plus bid where we asked the hardware store to figure out what their cost is, figure out what they're going to mark us up, and we bid out that process. And then we were asking them to create a basket of goods to say, this is, hey, what are you going to charge us for screws versus what you're going to charge us for siding or what you're going to charge us for lumber. And my issue would be, it would be tough for us to have a competitive process as required in BBFA if we have that language as specific as it needs, as that can be. And so what I did was I did my little bit of research and got into the state, actually, the Office of Administration, the Division of Purchasing and Materials Management. They did a similar process is what we're talking about. They bid out hardware purchasing, and because it's a tough deal. We even talked in the proposal about delivering the goods here, but as you talked about, that's not the way we normally purchase hardware. We don't go on Amazon and ask them to send us a screw of this size or whatever. We go to the hardware store and we go get what we need. And that's what we probably are going to have to do in the future too. And that's what we're hoping to be able to do. But the Missouri, the Division of Purchasing and Materials Management, they sent out a bid proposal. And in their scope of work, what they did is they just said, hey, when you as a company bid this job for the entire state of Missouri, you're going to give us a price, and that's going to be, and then you're going to give us a percentage off of that retail price. And so it's very, very simplistic. Yes, retail prices aren't necessarily stable. But it does say, in their terms that they use, they do say obviously if there's a sale on an item and we can't get our discount on that we're going to get the lower price. We're not going to just, pay the higher price. But I thought that maybe that would be a way in which we could easily bid out to a hardware store to have, our local hardware store and any other local hardware store that would want to bid to say, this is the amount of, the discount percentage that we're going to do. Then it was also important to me that we do take into consideration and great consideration the costs like you said associated with the procuring of the materials, the time of our employees spending cars going to hardware stores, and then also the mileage concerned with being able to do so. And so as there is only one hardware store in our town, and in order to have a competitive process, we're going to have to open that up to more than we can't just have it, one person give us a bid. We need more than one person to give us a bid to have a competitive process. But we need to have some sort of a calculation made for how many times we're going to go to a hardware store, how many miles is it to that hardware store, and what kind of extra costs we're going to incur by taking a bid to a different company. And at that point, we should be able to level out whatever discount rate we get from the local hardware store versus whatever rate we get from the other hardware store. And at that point, I think then we would have, completely satisfied the requirement of having a competitive bid process And then we can open the bids. And then they'd be sealed bids, just similar to what we do with these kind of things. In my opinion, and this is going out a little bit on the limb, maybe it would be best for us to secure somebody's outside services to open the bid and make that determination, as opposed to us making it as a board. Because definitely we are obligated by the language in BDFA and also the Missouri Ethics Commission to take the lowest bid. So it's very important that we have a process that, you know, we're not manipulating the process so that somebody does have the lowest bid, because that would be problematic as far as the, you know, the Ethics Commission and our policy. So maybe, you know, we could look into a third party, maybe somebody down at the courthouse that would be able to open the bids for us, make that determination as far as what that cost is that they need to add on for the extra mileage and expense, and then tell us as a board what they think is the low bid, and then we can just take it from there.
So this formula that you, if I'm understanding you right, the formula that you've come up with is the one that we would put out there to everybody, and then, or for people to put the bids on or bring the bids in, but then we would factor the cost of us having to drive there and get it and all that other stuff, as opposed to getting it here within town.
Yeah, and that wouldn't be a part of the bid process, because, I mean, like we just evaluated the bids that we received on the, you know, on the truck, and we had several different bids. They didn't have to, we didn't have to say how we're going to evaluate the bid. We just have to get a bid, and then we have to evaluate it. So that portion would have to be something that however we decided to award the bid, that would be that part of the process, figuring out how much we're going to charge for mileage, how many trips we make, you know, how many trips we're going to afford to that hardware store and that kind of thing.
But the people that send the bids in, I guess, are they aware that that's?
They wouldn't, I mean, it's just similar to, you know, if we had decided that, you know, we really love Napheed, and somebody worked for, you know, had a buddy that worked at Napheed, and we just decided to go, you know, to go for that, we could. It's not something you have to disclose as a part of the bidding process.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
So when you do, what, go ahead, Dan.
I think that we're getting way out of balance with this whole bidding thing. Is we're talking the minor, we're not talking construction materials, et cetera. We're talking minor hardware, as opposed to if a guy needs a toilet ring, he's having to run to Wardsburg or Sedalia to get a toilet ring.
Right.
We're talking minor hardware, and I think that we're getting way out of scope with this. That if we receive, if it's advertised, we receive one bid back, then that's it. We fulfilled the requirements.
I agree.
Because we put it out on, like they told us to put it out for bid.
I agree.
Well, if we give one bid back, then we can decide on that.
Yeah, that would be fine.
That would fulfill all the I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that would fulfill the requirements of the ethics committee, and our policy, and follow the guidelines of the lawyer that said you got to put this out for bid. But if we only got one bid back,
Oh, yeah,
definitely.
If we only had one bid, that would be the case. And my concern would be that we can't design a process for one bid.
No,
We cannot do
we
that.
cannot we can't force people to bid stuff either.
Well,
I mean,
no,
all we can do is put it in the paper and
Right.
request the bids.
and so you're very correct. And so that's what we're asking, you know, I think that would be the best thing to do. Just create a simple, you know, give us what you're going to give us as a discount. We figure out what we want to do as far as charging for, you know, that extra mileage and that consideration, and then we go to bid. We don't have to have the delivery things like that, you know, because you know, Dr. Willie, you did a lot of research. You're trying to put this together, and I appreciate that. But I think, like you said, we just don't need to make it we don't need to make this, you know, some sort of a really, you know, grandiose thing. We just need to be pretty simple about what we're doing here.
Well, I feel relatively comfortable in sticking with Dr. Wheeler's plan and Mr. Pendilli's idea that we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, just getting a toilet ring from the local hardware store. I'll make a motion that we vote on.
Go ahead. Since I did kind of bring this forward to Dr. Lorenz, and since it is in front of the board tonight, I wanted to clarify a couple of things that are important. This was actually a process I used in the past. It's a prime vendor bid with the market basket, and I'd used this in a prior district to procure a prime vendor for food, which is different because that's 100% delivered door to door to the district. So I'm glad to hear this evening that you brought up the proximity and the trips. And I didn't want to put that in there until I'm glad to hear that come from the board because of a couple of things. We do only have one hardware store in the district, and that is both an advantage to the district in a lot of ways, but it also is an advantage to that vendor being in the district. So I do think that component needs to be included and quantified. And I've had general discussions with Mr. Bazinga about the number of trips to pick up hardware. And the issue is we can order a lot of things, but we can't, when we're on the job and we need a part, you pull off, it's dependent on the job. So that proximity is important. He indicated that on average, he's thinking about four to 5 trips per week to the hardware store. So we're looking at about once a day on average. So I do think that needs to be quantified in some case. And it's not in this intentionally because I didn't want it to appear that there was any advantage that I had suggested for the local vendor. And then the other issue is on the market bat. So you're suggesting just a flat discount off of retail, as opposed to the cost to the vendor plus markup.
Right.
So markdown, so markup. And then are you still wanting to do the market basket?
I don't think there would be necessarily a need to, unless as a part of the bid process, maybe a hardware company would say, man, I can give 5% on lumber, but I really can't do that on bolts, because I've already, it's too close.
Right.
So it would just be they could list that out if they would want to, and then we'd have to whoever would make that determination on the bid. But I think it would be pretty simple, as opposed to, just from a personal perspective, from a business owner, this would be a pretty onerous process for, if we were to go with this, for any business owner to be able to fulfill, and just to be able to get the business versus doing the other, where it would be just giving us a number and be done.
And I agree, and I did speak, this was about a $250,000 bid process, and we're talking about maybe 15 or 20, so it may be a little, it's just what I had, and that's why I
Sure, yeah,
suggested
well,
it.
it was a great place to start. I really do appreciate it, definitely.
And then if the board feels the need to, I certainly would welcome the opportunity to step out of that role if there's any opportunity for someone to say that a bid would be or could be manipulated. I would want to open up the opportunity for that claim to even be made. So I had actually suggested, I believe, that Katie Huntsman, our board secretary, open those bids. We could have a notary either with her if we want to notarize those, or we could select a third party. But if because of the delicacy of the situation, I appreciate you looking out for us and even taking away any opportunity for somebody to make a claim that something was done inappropriately. So thank you on all accounts.
Yeah.
But we're not ready to bid as is, or I'm sorry, not ready to approve as is, mainly because of how we'll receive the bids and how we quantify proximity to for those daily trips.
So,
So at this time, we'll just move forward.
well, what you need from us, and I think we can make a recommendation, is how do we want to do cost plus, or do we want to do a discount from retail? I think that's something that needs to be told from our perspective. That needs to be a board level decision. And then do we want to investigate having a third party to do that, or whether we just want to have Katie do it?
I'd say we have Katie do it.
I just say keep it local. I mean,
Fine.
as long as, the way I'm looking at it, as long as we fulfill the requirements.
Yeah.
Then there should be no issue.
Okay.
Because if anybody questions it, then it's like, look, we did A, we did B, we did C.
Exactly.
This
Well,
is what came in, everything was sealed, if anything comes in. We fulfilled the requirements. I really don't.
Yeah. That's fine.
I don't see us going outside of the scope of that as long as we do the right thing.
Well, I think because of the sensitivity of the issue, like you were saying, I mean, I think if we had Katie do it and a notary, then we're covered.
Yeah, so it says as long as we
That little piece, I think, needs
fulfill the
to be added
requirements. Yeah.
because of the sensitivity, as to where we might not have to do it any other time, we would this time.
Yeah, I know that Mrs. Matthews has requested that the school's attorney look at this and MSBA look at this. She absolutely does not want to do anything unethical.
No,
Exactly.
And Mr. Birchie, that's why BBFA 2 was referenced in this, because we're just trying to be transparent, you know, of the roles and
Are
responsibilities.
we gonna keep this strictly hardware stores, just every home improvement vendor that's on the market?
What, we will bid,
Hardware store.
Well,
Well, and-
House.
And we don't necessarily know what all.
Well, but, you know, when you start looking at the small stuff like this, we don't put out a bid for to go to a local restaurant. I mean, we do purchase money with school funds at these restaurants. So if somebody says, hey, how come you're not using me? I'm cheaper. What do we do?
Well, I think the only difference there is somebody from the restaurant isn't on the board.
Well,
That's where the difference comes in. She's on the board. If she wasn't on the board, then you could spend to your heart's content.
Well,
But-
no, you couldn't, I mean, it's gonna be part of, you know what I mean, the budget that's approved, you know.
Well, I know that, but I'm just saying in general, it wouldn't be,
You could go to restaurant A versus restaurant B. all in
right, we
one.
wouldn't be going through this process if that was the case.
but because Ms. Matthews has chosen to do her civic duty and run for the school board and support her community, because she owns a local business, she is being penalized for it.
Well, I don't think she's being penalized. I think that it just falls within the ethics. And
Well, yes, that's
you just
right.
gotta do things the right way, so somebody doesn't turn around and say, you know, well, you're showing favoritism to her or whatever. But yeah, it just needs to be followed, but I just think that we just need to simplify it a little bit, as Matt was saying, and just get on with it and get the bids out. So we can stop these trips to Sedalia and Warrensburg for,
Hopefully.
Yeah, so I'm gonna move that we adopt a percentage off of retail model, and that we, would it be okay to allow Dean to, well, or is it Katie? I mean, we want Katie to be the one that would open the bid, and we're gonna allow, and in a, I guess, this is a little motion.
And so you're gonna give it to me my first time in front of the
Yes.
microphone.
So, we're gonna have Katie open the bids, and we're gonna have a notary present at the opening of the bids. And then, is it okay with the board that we allow Katie to come up with that discount, not discount factor, that excess charge factor for the mileage? Is that she can figure that out for us?
Well, I think we need to let Dr. Wheeler figure that out. She's just gonna be involved in the opening of the bids, but the rest of this is.
Well, I mean, from what Dr. Wheeler said, he's welcoming the opportunity to kind of step back from the process, because there doesn't need to be any extra, I mean,
So what he meant was the bid opening process.
and this is a part of
It's
the
his
opening process.
responsibility to do these bids.
Well, right, but I think he was saying this is I mean, let's
What
not
did
speak for
you
Dr.
mean,
Wheeler. Yeah,
Dr.
what did you say?
Why don't you just tell us what you meant?
Would you feel better or worse about being the one that makes the decision?
since I'm asked directly, I feel 100% confident in my ethical ability
Yeah.
to prepare this RFP and open it. However, because this conversation has occurred at a public meeting, I would like to have the bid responses notarized. Further, I want to make sure that we pass the final RFP through our attorney and through MSBA to make sure that they sign off on that, so that if there's a preponderance of evidence that this entire process has been done ethically.
Sure.
So that's kind of what I meant.
So do you really need a motion from the board, or you just need more of a direction of the will of the board to design the proposal and then
I
bring
think we
it?
need the will of the board, which is % off retail, Katie opening the bids, notarized, approval through MSBA and our attorney.
And then are we providing any direction concerning the, you know, the
not the discount factor, the extra expense factor
Yeah,
with it?
that's a good question. The best thing that Dean and I could come up with is number of trips to the hardware store, and then include that in the response, your closest provider of the product. So what we would do is say if Lowe's bids, if Sutherland's bids, if, what's the other place in Sedalia? Menards bids, then we would calculate the distance from the maintenance facility to that location, and then we would multiply that distance in mileage times the number of average trips per week, which would be probably 4, and then we would put in a time allocation of the amount of time that Dean is going to be traveling, multiply that by his daily rate of pay hourly, and then we would be able to come up with a factor of what it costs for Dean to travel to each of the bidding locations. And then we would have that as a factor.
I'm completely confident.
So the problem, I mean, again, the reason I didn't include that is because it isn't going to give an advantage to the district into any local provider. So, and on the point to the restaurants, you know, the threshold is typically $15,000 where it triggers. If we believe that our expenditure is going to exceed $15,000, we ought to be bidding. In this case, because Mrs. Matthews is a board member, I feel like if we were going to spend any money with her, that we ought to bid this just to be completely above board, and again, take away that opportunity for anybody to make a claim against any ethical issue. And then moving forward, we need to look at this on not just hardware, but we need to look on janitorial supplies. If we, for some reason, brought food service back into district, we would want to look at this for food. Anything that's consumable, janitorial supplies, chemicals, anything along those lines, we want to try to look at the bidding process so that we are as competitive as we can be.
Well, I agree, and when you talk about janitorial supplies, our bill for last month for the janitorial service company that supplies us with paper was $7,000. That's a huge amount of money in 1 month.
Well, that'll be forthcoming, and we may follow the same process with bid opening and publication, just so that we remove any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Weaver.
A couple comments I want to make on this whole deal is, so we don't lose sight of it. Everybody is aware that DESE already has a hardware contract that we could play off of. We wouldn't be spending any time to analyze bids, all that. Now, I understand that's not from a store 3 blocks down, whatever, it's 10 miles away, probably the closest. That said, you know, it makes, that said, there's already a contract out there. The other thing is, what if the local store does not win? Then we're driving regardless to said locations to get it. You know, is it just we need to change our process, how we get supplies? I totally understand we can't just forecast everything that we're going to have when we're doing a repair. I understand that. But if this bid doesn't go this way, we're going to be doing a lot more online ordering and having it drop shipped to us. Does that mean that we should now start looking at, with the DESE contract, start that process? We've got, at this point, until January before we can start using a local store, because that cap's been met. And in January, the local store becomes that emergency run to it, pick up whatever the last minute part is that's needed, or what you couldn't forecast. And then the other stuff comes in as delivered, because, you know, this isn't going to go out just in the out paper, because then that's only one company is going to see it. I totally agree with, you know, the lawyer sign off on it and all that stuff. It needs to be above reproach. But there's that risk that someone else is going to get it who has a higher volume to be able to do bigger discounts. And then at that point, we will be doing what we're trying to avoid doing right now. So just so everybody's aware, there's already a contract out there. There's no cost with us analyzing bids, who's doing the bids, who's reviewing them. yes, there is a drop ship requirement with that. I totally understand that. But just want everybody to be aware, there's still that other option that, or risk with this contract, that it may not get where we can just run down a local store. And the thing with that is, just so you're aware, and that means not a penny running to the local store, not a, well, this is a last minute emergency, I need to run there. No, you're still running to who your contract is with. So as long as everybody's aware of that risk too, and we take that all into account with all of our decisions. So that's all I've got. Thanks.
I kind of agree with you on that, Michael, but I think that we're like right now between a rock and a hard place. Because like you said, we can't buy anything locally till next January. So we got to do something one way or another, because we have an excellent maintenance facility manager who does a good job. So we got to try and do what we need to do to make sure he gets the materials and supplies to do his job. So if it comes down to Fastenal or Western Extra Light or somebody getting the contract, and on the good side of that, they deliver. So,
Well, Mr.
I mean, it's just that, we just got to take what we can get, but we have to do this process. In one way or another, we have to do it, because right now it's, what do you do?
Well, Well, I agree with you, Mr. Padilla, and being in the rental property business and knowing that you work on rental properties every day, there's nothing worse than being at a work stoppage and having to waste 2 to 3 hours or whatever it takes in getting a dollar part. I mean, it's just, but I couldn't imagine running all the way to Sedalia to buy something that was, a toilet flapper valve or a faucet or something, and having to spend so much time on the road when I could have already gotten it at the local hardware store and had it fixed.
Well, and I think Ms. Matthews knows, because we've discussed having that contract before out there. So, we want to make this process right, and we want to do it above board. And I think we're just trying to get some sort of closure done to it, so we're not, kicking the can down the road anymore, because that's really what we're continuing to do. So, yeah, she's aware of that. We're all aware of that, and I think we know that. So I think this, process is what we need to finally put something in place.
So are we?
So
in
to
agreement that we'll move forward with
I
that?
think we're just to put a bow on it,
Yeah.
then let's just say, I'm gonna make a motion that we proceed with the bid process to include percentage off retail, Katie opening the bids, a notary being present, and Dr. Wheeler coming up with that,
Proximity,
that bonus factor or whatever.
let's start with a proximity.
Proximity factor. There it is. Thank you.
I second the motion, Matt.
To be advertised in.
Oh, yeah, to be advertised in 3 local papers.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Kelly, I'm gonna go opposed.
No. So you
No.
just said no. So,
We just.
So you say no.
yeah, so 5-1.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, no,
there.
it's fine. I was waiting for any opposed, so that's why.
There's all this pressure. I told you I was gonna have a test.
Hey, at least you have to read off the laundry list of RSMOs.
I know, I was studying this long thing here.
Oh, she's gone.
She's gone.
No, I don't blame her.
I'll take that.
Thank you for all the work that you did on this. Dr. Wheeler, thank you for all the work that you guys did on this.
We're not trying to
I'll
bore
say
anybody
down
to
in
death
there.
out there.
Oh, okay.
So are they. Girl, I'm a pro now. Because it was going on.
Before we move on, Matt, on that motion, I realized afterwards we didn't include review by MSBA and the district attorney, so could we have that reflected in the minutes to make sure?
That was there.
Well, I know, I just wanted to make sure that it was there.
I don't think anybody would, nobody's gonna be upset. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for watching out for that.
Okay. I'm back. Review board policies.
What is
No,
What is the board?
the board document management system that they put on there. And we have been talking a little bit, and I've been sharing in some of my reports. Mrs. Matthews and I have really been talking with some different companies about possible board management tools. We have one we use through our district website. We also have in the board packet, which I shared with you, I believe, the last time about the e-boards and the services that they could provide with a cost proposal. We also shared last time a Board Docs LT formal proposal. It's another company. And the third one is a newer one we got after the last time. We got a little more information. This is something Mrs. Matthews had researched that the Crestridge School District was using. And it is a web school tools, which is, I think, very similar to what we use already. And as Dr. Wheeler and I looked at that, it didn't seem to be much of an advantage over what we had already. The other two systems would provide a little more as far as being able to go back to different topics that we're talking about, different board meetings, and it saves us time in identifying those
Searching
things.
factor.
Search factor. One of the companies actually would give the ability to be able to search databases of general topics from other that are open records of other boards of education. If we're going to look at different resources and examples, sometimes bid proposals, Mr. Pendilli, we talked about that's kind of a process that we always want to look at improving. Sometimes those things would be available, but I do believe that was on the first proposal a little more with the e-boards, which is the little more costlier option as well. So, Mrs. Matthews did ask that be put on the agenda, so I just, at this point, wanted to know if we wanted to have a conversation about that, just some direction.
Well, I think part of the reason for putting this on the agenda is that, number one, we're more transparent because not only does the agenda go out to the public, but they're able to view what we're going to discuss and, like the truck bid and the fuel bid and stuff like that. Also, if Dr. Lorenz was to send something to the board members individually, right now she has to do it via Google Mail, whereas she could list the whole thing to us on board docs. And nobody else would be privy to what she feels like the board members alone should have. I really feel there's some benefits to having a uniform agenda, uniform board docs, and I think the board should consider one of these proposals. That's my conversation on that.
Well, we had talked in the past about the board documents and the way that they're distributed. And where right now we obviously we're paying for the website functionality, so we're not paying anything extra to be able to do this. We can. It always seems like there's somebody's willing to solve a problem for you for a certain amount of money. That's for sure. I would. We've talked about it in the past using Google Docs as a way to do this, and the things you're talking about doing, search functionality, being able to quickly and easily make it readily available to the public. But then also to be able to have a secure feature to where it can only be shared among, board members. That's something we could do with Google Docs. It's something that we've already, that Google's provided that for our district, as a free service right now. It would take some transition time. It would probably take some training time for us to be able to figure it out. But I think it's something that we could handle, and be free, and something, it would definitely, I think it would improve where we're at right now. And I think that's what you're trying to get at, is that we can do better. And I think we can do better with what we have already. We just have to stretch ourselves a little bit and decide that, so that's what we want to do.
Would the board be open to having the presentations? I mean, e-boards versus board docs versus what Google Docs would look like for us?
They would be willing to come.
Not a fee for them to come present to you.
Is there an overall cost per year?
Oh, yes.
Or
Yeah,
For
and
all of
it's
these,
hosted.
all of the board docs people.
they're in there.
Except for Google Docs.
Except
Yeah,
for Google
Google.
would be free, or what we're using is, it's already included because of what we pay for the website.
The one we're currently using, I don't think the functionality of the one we're currently using is good enough.
And I can
for
understand.
purposes.
And I can understand
And
that.
then we can eliminate the one that Chris would,
Oh, okay,
or whatever.
right.
We can eliminate two if we wanted to, and just go with like the board docs and Google Docs.
Well,
If you guys wanted to.
yeah, would you to have presentations?
But just have a presentation or have somebody,
Yeah.
who would do Google Docs?
I'd do it. If you want me to.
Well,
And
having said that, we did talk to you about that last year,
Right.
and that was like a year and a half ago.
Right.
And I know we're busy and it's not.
sure, no, we had discussed it and we had tried it in one form or fashion, but we had tried it as a part of setting up a Google group as opposed to actually doing it with, and Paul actually and I sat in a MSBA meeting last year in October, September. We were looking at the Google Docs and you could just pull it up on your phone. It's really pretty amazing what you can do, which is the capability of what we currently have. So it's just a matter of us saying, this is what we want. Cause I think we tried it 1 month and then we didn't get any feedback. So we just kind of went back to the old way. And maybe that's not what we wanted to do.
So,
And some people did have a hard time getting in, but again, it was how it was, I think.
Set up with the
where it was
group,
set up.
right? As opposed to just using straight Google Docs, using each of our individual logons, because everybody has that nowmaster.k12.mo.us logon. And that would be what would authenticate you to be able to read the stuff that is our documentation before a board meeting. And then it's a couple of clicks for Dr. Lorenz to put that available, make that available to the public.
so would you like to present something to us at the next board meeting?
Sure.
And then Google Docs is like real time too.
Yeah, so like Dr. Lorenz puts that, or Katie puts that up for us, and it would be right then, and it would be available on your whatever device you wanted to be able to do it on. So I think there's a lot of flexibility there, and maybe we can avoid the cost, but still get the additional functionality that we're talking about. So yeah, I can definitely. Do you want me to?
Right now, she has no way to communicate with us other than Gmail, on issues, and some of this really going on here is not readily accessible.
Sure.
As far as I'm concerned.
Oh, I understand.
Well, and I think too, from their side, just even get it out there is timely and,
Right.
or not timely is difficult.
It's
And
difficult to get something.
if we can speed that up or make that more efficient, I think again, from my side, whether it's Google Docs or e-boards, either one, just as long as it will do what we want it to do, it's efficient. The other piece is if it is Google Docs, how intensive is that time? Because, with e-boards, sure, we're gonna pay them money for the functionality, but we still have someone on our end uploading to that. So, is one more efficient than the other? Is it worth paying that money to have that little bit more efficiency? Or
So then we get a representative in here from board docs, and they'll give us a
Sure, I'll give you the once over on that.
once over on that, so we'll have two people looking at it to do a comparison.
Yes, for dogs. Okay, yes.
Okay. So next is the review of board policies.
Yes, and this is our typical reviews of the board policies. that we have committed to doing as a board. It's one of our goals. And believe it or not, we'll finish up the Bs this evening. So there's been a lot under the Bs. And so these range from public participation at board meetings to release of information, school board policy process, which we're working on.
I think everybody pretty much
Yeah.
has gone over
Yeah.
them. And here again, there might be some questions on some of these. I had BHA.
BHA.
If I can find it. BHA,
BHA, new board member orientation.
right.
Yes.
There was a question on that as far as giving new board members the policies and procedures of the non-master school district, the budget, the latest annual report, and other
Right.
such documents as the superintendent deems essential to the operation. Each
Right.
new board member shall be given an orientation program under the direction of the superintendent.
Right.
Well, to give them the policies is 2 books, because I looked at them in your office and you showed them to me, it's 2 great big books. The budget, okay, the annual report, okay, as far as, we're required to do 16 hours of training.
Right.
I do not like the fact that it's presented by the MSBA. We also are members of MARE, so I would like that included in there, that the individual has the option of doing the 16 hours with either MSBA or MARE, since we are members of them now.
Yeah, that's.
Both
I agree.
of them
Yeah,
should
I
be
agree.
included.
That's great.
Right.
But, I think some of this needs to be taken out of here. I'm not sure that the new book,
No, I have a frog there. I really did. I have a frog in my throat. Sorry.
And so the way that functionally happens right now, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we give an electronic copy to each, because as a part of what we actually did this a couple of years ago. We actually, when you guys came on, we put together an electronic copy of the new board member packet, which is honestly on Google Docs. And that's where we put those documents so that we satisfy this requirement, but then also to have it electronically available. Now, the board policies, we never put those in, but we put the link in the Google Doc so that you could go to our board policy online. And so that's the way that we would handle that. But for instance, say if we were to get an 80-year-old, somebody that would, or a 24-year-old that had no idea how to use a computer and was not comfortable doing that, then we'd have to produce those documentation for them and on paper, and we would do so. But we would probably also have to train them how to use a computer at 24 years old. So,
I don't think you'll have a problem at 24.
okay.
But we did work really hard a couple of years ago to put together, and Matt really helped us with that. Mr. Fisk was involved, I was involved in putting together that new board member orientation online, but it is a Google Doc and does have really good information. So my notes say we really do need to put or mayor training as an option.
On BHA.
Yes.
On BHA.
And then I guess that would be my only concern was on BJ, that we would put that as our board policy, that we are going to be members of MARE as well.
I agree.
BJ, yes, okay.
I have that down too. We just have MSBA on that and not.
Yeah, it's just gonna be updated.
Thank you, man.
Now, being that we have those, which policies are we going, the mayor has their own policies.
MARE does not have their own policies. MARE they have contractors that you can contract with to do a policy service, but they don't have their own, honestly.
But I mean, we're gonna stay with what we
Well,
have.
right now, Mayor, they use MEC's policies.
Right, they use MEC's policies, and you have to pay them to use MEC's
that-
policies.
That's not Missouri Ethics Commission, that's Missouri Education Council.
Right.
But yes, they have policies, I've looked at some of their policies, and they're in line with MSBA policies.
Part of the problem staying with MSBA policies are, it's costing us a lot of money for them to send us out the same information that the other company can send us for pennies.
Well, the idea with the MSBA full membership is that when we looked at this it was about a year ago. That we looked at all of the discounts and things that we have with MSBA to be able to cover the cost. And we looked at it and just on the natural gas purchase discount alone, we're covering the entire cost of our MSBA membership. So just in being able to purchase gas at a lower cost through the consortium that we have access to because we're an MSBA member, then we're able to reduce that. I mean, we cover the entire cost plus some for MSBA,
So,
to be able to.
So how could the gas company possibly have a consortium with MSBA that's gonna get us that
It's a-
big of a
It's a
reduction?
purchasing consortium, but among schools that MSBA orchestrated to reduce that cost of, the was it the CPM, what was it?
Yes, we pay net bill every month.
Right.
And we do, it's a huge discount, and in fact, a year ago, we did bring in, it was thousands of dollars that we were saving.
And we can look at it specifically.
What's the overall cost to be in that consortium, given the fact that we're paying for everything else from MSBA?
Well, like I said, I think it was on the order of $22,000 that we think that it was, if I remember right, and we'll look that up, but it was on the order of $22,000 that we were saving, and we're paying approximately 13 to be in MSBA.
Have we talked to Missouri Gas Energy to find out if they have any new programs or anything that's more cost effective to buy gas from them without having to pay these outlandish fees with MSBA?
I think what you gotta look at is MSBA doing that consortium is no different than you go and join AAA. You join AAA and you get discounts. You join this group, you get discounts. You join that group. MGE is not gonna come to you and say, oh, you're one school district you want a discount on, and I'll give you this deep a discount as what I'm gonna give MSBA as an organization, because I know they're pushing business to me. Same logic with KCP&L. I mean, they're going to the state, not legislature, but the commission all the time saying, I need to raise my rates because these costs have gone up.
But
You're you're taking advantage of being a member of an organization that has lobbied and championed for discounts because they have a big buying group.
well, but here's another issue. In today's world, propane and natural gas prices are dirt cheap. I mean, it's way down.
Yeah, so you're
It's at an
giving,
all-time low.
I would agree, but
you're pulling discounts off of that also.
But
There are other, companies that they partner with too that potential
Is that
discounts.
who we have our most with?
Yes, they do have a partnership with MOSIP. So there's other companies we do partner with through our MSBA membership that are submitted.
And I thought we were looking at.
We are, we wanted to finish up our, and close out the year then.
Did we do anything with our money in MOSIP, the $4 million we have over there?
We have meetings scheduled this month to talk with them about. We met with the bank and with MOSIP
So you'll have something for us next
in
month?
October.
Okay.
That's right.
That's all part of MSBA. We have how many millions of dollars? with
Yeah.
that?
Board policies.
We're talking about board policies. We are correct.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Fields.
I have a question on DDL. Is it still 10 cents a copy? Or not to exceed 10 cents a copy?
Pretty much, it's our standard rule.
Does anybody else have any questions on any of the board policies that we're reviewing? Okay. We moved,
Yes.
Dr. Rollison's, the reason I asked for that to be moved down here is, I guess I'm a little concerned, her duties versus, Terry Combs' duties last year. I believe that Dr. Rollison has.
No,
I don't think Terry Combs had critical thinking.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's an identical
yes,
list.
Huh?
It literally is an identical list. I took her list and went through it, and it's an identical list.
It's an identical list.
Identical.
yes.
And those are all part of a SPED director of student services to oversee.
It's for student services, federal programs, and special education. Yes. It's typical.
Thank you, Dr.
That
Ross.
was my question.
I don't have a question. I was gonna make the motion to approve the duties as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wow, twice in one night. Wow. I don't know what to do. I make a motion that we adjourn to executive session pursuant to RSMO 610.0213. So wait a second, let me finish. This is my big moment, you don't get nothing, David.
You're gonna leave, I'm gonna thank everybody for coming.
RSMO 610.02113. Stop. RSMO 610.0211 and RSMO 610.219. There, you can go.
Thank everybody for coming.
Oh, we
And we'll
got
have, okay, wait a minute. We're gonna have a 10-minute break. We'll be back here.
Okay, and we need a second.
I got it.
Thanks for coming.
Second.
I'll second.
Aye.
I'm gonna take some kids' pictures here. No, we're gonna do text pictures. All right, dear, good to see
They didn't. They did, he was. And then he's.
There's a lot going on.
I'll ask her. If not, I can mention it to Dr. Lawrence. I'm sure that but I do think I got that too.
In that bid, they also accepted
Well, we can
Well, I will go buy one myself and say,
no, right. These are two my smart. Yes, mom. It's good. It's a good kid. It's great.
There we are, there we are.
So,
All the drywall, all the tile, all the grass. You got a picture of He said, For Vincent's kids too. His daughter.
That's why I said. That's great. Only 2 hours.
You know, I want you to try. Yeah, he doesn't. Oh, sure. And Angela and I think we think it's a great experience. Wow, because I don't know that he's being as challenged. That's not that challenging. He would try to. Okay. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Before it gets up.
They are doing just like my Paul. So we just went through that. Yeah, they are. They're both my dad. They're both neighbors, honestly.
He travels around to all the 4 districts.